Have you ever wondered why the money you work so hard to earn never seems to be enough to give you peace of mind? Why does that constant anxiety about your financial future persist no matter how much you have in your bank account? The answer might be in a place you never imagined looking, in the wisdom of ancient Stoic philosophers, who discovered over 2,000 years ago that true wealth is not found in what we possess, but in how we think about what we possess. Today, we are going to explore together the most powerful and transformative concept you will ever apply to your financial life: memento mori, the constant reminder of our mortality, and how this ancient practice can become your greatest ally in achieving not only financial freedom, but something far more valuable: the peace of mind that comes from knowing you are the captain of your own economic destiny. Why do we live in a society that promises us happiness through the next purchase? The answer is more disturbing than you imagine. We find ourselves trapped in what the Stoics would have called a collective illusion, a mirage that makes us believe that material abundance equals spiritual and emotional abundance. But here's the truth that marketing companies do not want you to know. Real abundance has nothing to do with the number of objects you possess. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful emperor of his time, wrote in his meditations that true happiness comes from virtue and self-control, not from the treasures of the empire. And he had access to all the luxuries the Roman world could offer. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you felt that intense emotion when buying something new, only to discover that feeling fades within days or weeks? That emotional roller coaster is no coincidence. It is a result of a system designed to keep us in a perpetual cycle of desire, purchase, temporary satisfaction, and new desire. The Stoics had a name for this: the tyranny of desire. When we allow our desires to govern us, we stop being free and become slaves to our impulses. But here comes the really fascinating part. The Stoics discovered that when we apply memento mori to our financial decisions, something extraordinary happens. We begin to see every purchase, every economic decision, through the filter of our mortality. Do we really need that latest smartphone that costs over $1,000 when the one we have works perfectly? Is it worth going into debt for 5 years to drive a car that does not really significantly improve our quality of life? When we remember that our existence is limited, that each passing day is one less day we have on this earth, our priorities naturally and powerfully realign. Modern society has created a dangerous narrative that we need more than we actually need. Social media algorithms bombard us with images of seemingly perfect lives, filled with expensive objects and luxurious experiences. But the Stoics teach us something revolutionary. Comparison is the thief of joy and financial freedom. When we measure our success by what others have, we lose sight of what really matters: our own tranquility and autonomy. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we are like actors in a play. We do not choose the role we get to play, but we can choose how we play it. In financial terms, this means that while we cannot control external factors like inflation, economic crises, or changes in the job market, we can completely control our reactions and decisions to these events. And that is where our real power lies. The ancient philosophers understood something we have forgotten in our obsession with accumulation: that true abundance comes from the ability to be satisfied with enough. But this does not mean settling for mediocrity or giving up ambition. It means developing the wisdom to distinguish between what genuinely improves our life and what simply feeds our ego or social anxiety. When we apply memento mori to our finances, we begin to ask different questions. Instead of asking ourselves if we can afford something, we ask ourselves if we really need it. Instead of chasing the latest consumer trend, we evaluate whether that purchase brings us closer to or further from our goals of tranquility and personal freedom. This perspective not only transforms our relationship with money, but also frees us from the emotional weight that comes with compulsive consumerism. Do you know what the fundamental difference is between people who achieve financial peace and those who live in constant anxiety about money? It is not the amount they earn, although that is a factor. The main difference lies in their capacity for self-control. And here's a revelation that will forever change your perspective on wealth. Self-control is not simply a useful skill for managing money. It is the very foundation upon which all true and lasting wealth is built. The Stoics developed the concept of self-control until they turned it into a precise science. They understood that the human mind is constantly bombarded by impulses, desires, and temptations, but that we have the absolute power to decide which of these impulses deserve our attention and which we should let pass like clouds in the sky. When we apply this principle to our finances, we develop what we could call financial immunity, the ability to stay centered on our long-term goals regardless of external pressures. Think of your mind as if it were a fortress. The impulses to buy, tempting offers, social pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle, all of these are like enemy armies trying to conquer your fortress. But you are the commander of that fortress. You have soldiers at your disposal. Your capacity for reflection, your knowledge of your true objectives, your understanding of the long-term consequences of your decisions. The question is, are you going to defend your fortress, or are you going to open the gates to the first impulse that calls? Most people who achieve financial freedom have developed what psychologists call delayed gratification, but what the Stoics understood as the ability to see beyond the present moment. When we face the temptation to spend money we do not have on something we do not need, Stoic self-control allows us to pause and ask ourselves, how will I feel about this decision in a year? In 5 years? Will this purchase bring me closer to the person I want to be or take me away from her? Financial self-control does not mean depriving yourself of all pleasure or living like a hermit. It means developing the wisdom to distinguish between pleasures that genuinely enrich our lives and those that simply drain our resources without providing lasting value. The Stoics spoke of the difference between necessary pleasures and vain pleasures. A necessary pleasure is one that contributes to our physical, emotional, or intellectual well-being. A vain pleasure is one that we pursue solely to impress others or to fill a temporary emotional void. When we develop true self-control, something fascinating happens with our budget. We stop seeing the budget as a restriction and begin to see it as a tool of freedom. Instead of feeling limited by our financial plan, we feel empowered by it. We know exactly where every cent of our money goes because we have made conscious and intentional decisions about our priorities. The Stoics taught that we are richer when we need less, not when we have more. This perspective completely revolutionizes our relationship with saving. Instead of saving because we have to do it, we save because we want to do it. We understand that every cent we save is a vote in favor of our future freedom. It is a declaration that we value our autonomy more than immediate gratification. Self-control also allows us to make better investment decisions. When we are not motivated by greed or fear, we can evaluate investment opportunities more objectively. We do not chase market trends because of FOMO, nor do we sell in panic when markets become volatile. We understand that wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint, and that consistency always beats sporadic intensity. But perhaps the most powerful thing about Stoic self-control is how it transforms our relationship with work and income. When we develop genuine self-control, we no longer work solely for money. We work to create value, to contribute to something bigger than ourselves, to develop our skills and talents. Money becomes a natural byproduct of our personal growth, not the main objective. And curiously, when money stops being our main focus, we tend to earn more of it. What if I told you that most personal financial crises can be avoided with a single mental practice? The ancient Stoics developed a technique called premeditation mori, which literally means premeditation of evils, and this practice has the power to completely transform your financial stability. But before you think it is about living in constant pessimism, let me explain why this technique is actually the most powerful tool for creating tranquility and confidence in your economic future. The premeditation of evils is not about obsessively worrying about everything that could go wrong. It is about preparing mentally and practically for the inevitable challenges that life presents us. Seneca, one of the great Stoic masters, was incredibly wealthy, but regularly practiced living as if he were poor for short periods. Why did he do this? To remind himself that he could survive and prosper even if he lost all his fortune. This practice not only calmed him mentally, but also motivated him to make smarter financial decisions. Many successful people who have achieved financial freedom apply this philosophy without even knowing it. They create emergency funds not because they are pessimistic, but because they understand that preparation is a foundation of confidence. When you know you can survive 6 months, a year, or even longer without income, your relationship with risk changes completely. You no longer make financial decisions from fear, but from strength. Think about it this way. Who has more freedom to negotiate their salary? Someone who lives paycheck to paycheck, or someone who has enough money saved to live a year without working? Who can make better career decisions? The person who must accept any job out of desperation, or the one who can afford to be selective? Financial preparation not only protects us from crises, but positions us to take advantage of opportunities. The Stoics understood that there are three types of events in life: those that are completely under our control, those that are partially under our control, and those that are completely outside our control. Economic recessions, mass layoffs, global health crises. These events are outside our control, but our preparation for these events is completely under our control. The premeditation of evils applied to finances leads us to ask ourselves powerful questions. What would happen if I lost my job tomorrow? How long can I maintain my current lifestyle? Do I have the necessary skills to generate income from multiple sources? Would my family be financially protected if something happened to me? These questions are not depressing. They are liberating, because they allow us to take action before it is necessary. When we apply this mindset, we begin to see income diversification not as something optional, but as something essential. The Stoics valued self-sufficiency, not out of pride, but for freedom. When you depend on a single source of income, you are at the mercy of factors that are outside your control. But when you develop multiple income streams, when you build transferable skills, when you maintain a strong professional network, you become someone anti-fragile, someone who not only survives crises, but is strengthened through them. Financial preparation also fundamentally changes how we view insurance. Many people see insurance as unnecessary expenses until they need it. But when we practice the premeditation of evils, we understand that insurance is not expenses. They are investments in our peace of mind. Life insurance, disability insurance, comprehensive health insurance. These are not fear products. They are tools of love for ourselves and our families. The Stoics also teach us that true preparation goes beyond money. It is about developing the mental and emotional resilience necessary to navigate life storms. When we mentally practice how we would react to different adverse scenarios, we develop what modern psychologists call psychological immunity. We know we can handle whatever life presents us because we have already processed it mentally. But here is the beautiful paradox of the premeditation of evils. When we are truly prepared for the worst, we tend to attract the best. When we radiate confidence and stability, opportunities gravitate toward us. Employers want to hire people who do not act out of desperation. Business partners prefer to work with individuals who have demonstrated prudence and planning. Preparation not only protects us, but positions us for success. When was the last time you stopped to redefine what it really means to be rich? Most of us have accepted a definition of wealth that was programmed into our minds by a society obsessed with accumulation, but the ancient Stoic philosophers discovered a wealth metric so powerful that it can instantly transform your relationship with money, and more importantly, your level of satisfaction with the life you already have. Society tells us that wealth is measured in numbers: bank account balance, home value, car price, brand of clothes we wear. But the Stoics developed a completely different metric. Wealth is measured in freedom. Not the freedom to buy what we want, but the freedom to not need to buy to feel complete. This distinction is absolutely crucial and will forever change how you think about money. Marcus Aurelius, who literally had access to all the riches of the Roman Empire, wrote that true wealth consists of needing little and appreciating what we already possess. This is not cheap self-help philosophy. It is wisdom distilled from someone who had experienced both poverty and extreme abundance. He understood that the feeling of wealth does not come from the amount you have, but from the relationship you maintain with what you have. Think about it this way. Who is richer? The person who earns $100,000 a year but needs $110,000 to feel secure, or the person who earns $50,000 a year but feels abundant with $40,000? The mathematical answer is obvious. But emotionally, the second person is infinitely richer because they have achieved something that money cannot buy: genuine satisfaction. The Stoics teach us that there are two paths to wealth: increase what we have or decrease what we need. Modern society obsesses only with the first path, completely ignoring the second, which is infinitely more direct and completely under our control. When we develop the ability to find abundance in simplicity, we become immune to external economic cycles. But be careful, this does not mean settling for mediocrity or giving up ambition. The Stoics were extremely ambitious and successful people. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire. Seneca was one of the richest men of his time. Epictetus developed an influential philosophical school. The difference is that their ambition was rooted in virtue and service, not in compulsive accumulation. This new metric of wealth completely changes how we evaluate our financial decisions. Instead of asking ourselves how much more we can earn or accumulate, we begin to ask ourselves how much freedom we are creating with our decisions. Does this purchase increase my freedom or decrease it? Does this job give me more autonomy or tie me to obligations I do not want? Does this investment bring me closer to independence or make me more dependent on the system? True wealth, according to Stoics, manifests itself in the ability to say no. No to the job that pays well, but destroys your soul. No to the purchase that impresses others but puts you in debt. No to relationships that drain your energy. No to commitments that do not align with your values. This capacity for selective refusal is only possible when you have reached a certain level of financial and emotional independence. Many successful people have discovered that there is a tipping point in wealth accumulation. At first, each additional dollar provides security and genuine options. But eventually, there comes a point where additional money does not significantly increase quality of life, but can even become a source of stress and complication. The Stoics help us identify what our personal sufficiency point is. When we redefine wealth in terms of freedom and satisfaction, our relationship with work also changes. Instead of working solely for money, we begin to work for purpose. We look for roles that allow us to grow as people, that use our unique talents, that contribute positively to the world. And curiously, when we work from this perspective, money tends to follow naturally. Gratitude becomes a powerful financial tool when we adopt this new wealth metric. It is not about settling for less than we deserve, but about genuinely recognizing the abundance that already exists in our lives. When we appreciate what we have, we stop compulsively pursuing what we do not have. This is not repression. It is liberation. The Stoics also understood that true wealth includes wealth of time, wealth of relationships, wealth of experiences, and wealth of personal growth. When we measure our wealth solely in monetary terms, we lose sight of these other forms of abundance that may be even more valuable to our overall well-being. This Stoic perspective on wealth leads us to make smarter financial decisions because we are optimizing for the right metric. Instead of just maximizing income or accumulation, we optimize for freedom, tranquility, and alignment with our deepest values. And it turns out that when we optimize for these more sophisticated metrics, we often end up financially better off too. Now we come to the moment of truth. You have heard about the illusion of abundance that keeps us trapped in cycles of infinite consumption. You have learned how Stoic self-control can become your most powerful financial fortress. You have discovered how mental and practical preparation for challenges positions you for true freedom. And you have completely redefined what it means to be rich in terms of personal freedom rather than simple accumulation. But all this wisdom is worthless if it remains as abstract knowledge in your mind. The time has come to transform this understanding into tangible action. Stoic philosophy is not an intellectual exercise. It is a practical lifestyle that requires daily implementation. Every financial decision you make from this moment on is an opportunity to apply these principles. Every time you feel the urge to buy something unnecessary, you can pause and ask yourself what Marcus Aurelius would say about this decision. Every time you face a financial temptation, you can remember that your self-control is a foundation of all true wealth. The memento mori we have explored today is not a morbid reflection on death, but a conscious celebration of life. When we remember that our time is limited, every decision becomes more precious and meaningful. We do not spend money we do not have on things we do not need, because we understand that every dollar misspent is wasted lifetime, time we could use to create, to connect, to grow, to contribute. The Stoics remind us that we are the only architects of our financial destiny. We cannot control markets, recessions, or global economic changes, but we can completely control our responses to these events. We can choose to be reactive or proactive. We can choose to be victims of circumstances or creators of our own path. The community of people who embrace this financial philosophy is growing. They are individuals who have decided that they prefer tranquility over ostentation, freedom over impression, substance over surface. They are people who understand that true financial security does not come from having more, but from needing less and being prepared for any eventuality. This is not a philosophy for the weak or the conformists. It is a philosophy for the brave, for those who are willing to challenge social norms about consumption and success. It takes courage to live by your own values when the world constantly pressures you to follow the consumerist herd. But the rewards are extraordinary. Peace of mind, genuine freedom, and the deep satisfaction that comes from living an authentic life. Remember that every small action counts. Every time you choose to save instead of spending impulsively. Every time you invest in your personal growth instead of material objects. Every time you practice gratitude for what you already have. You are building the fortress of your financial freedom. Big changes are made of small, consistent decisions. Your financial transformation begins today with the next decision you make. You can choose to continue living by the metrics that others have defined for you, or you can begin to live by the timeless wisdom of the Stoics. You can choose to be just another consumer in the system, or you can choose to be the conscious architect of your own economic freedom. The ancient philosophers left us these teachings not as historical relics, but as practical tools for modern life. Their wisdom about money and wealth is more relevant today than ever, because the fundamental challenges of self-control, preparation, and the search for meaning are eternal. Technology changes, markets evolve, but human nature remains constant, and that is why these teachings maintain their transformative power.
Remember, practicing Stoicism is a daily journey toward inner peace and resilience. If this video has inspired you to reflect or helped you see things from a different perspective, I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Which idea resonated with you the most? How do you apply Stoic discipline in your life? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Together, we will continue exploring the wisdom of the great Stoics and discovering how to apply it to our modern lives. Thank you for being part of this community. See you in the next video. Keep cultivating strength with every step and share your journey with us.